Hey guys, Stealth here. This gameplay we're looking at some lesser experienced players. We're looking at Jawohl and Noob. Now, Noob is his nickname because he's only played 20 to 30 battles. And Jawohl has played some European escalation, but is pretty new to Red Dragon. So in this gameplay I'm going to be pointing out stuff that I would do differently, stuff that they can improve upon, and stuff that they just did wrong. I'm not going to criticize them too bad, but Jawohl, who sent in this replay, told me to be harsh on their gameplay, so that's what I'm going to be doing. If you have seen anything, or if you're going to see anything in this gameplay that I haven't covered yet, please feel free to leave a comment down below to help out these guys improve their game. Now the starting setup here, and Jawohl is using a Land Jut general deck, is automatics, Kylers, Leopard 2A4, 2A1, couple of Flak Panzer Gepards here, or actually one Flak Panzer Gepard, Spider Vogons, reconnaissance units, Fuchs with their AA infantry inside, and a couple of Martyrs to make sure he can capture this sector. It's always useful to have control of this sector. If you can get it, it's going to be a little bit more income for you, +4. And with it, you can bring in more units, of course, because more income is always a good thing. Now, what we saw here, and I flashed through it pretty quickly. I think it already happened right now. Yeah, this happened. The Red 4 managed to take out a helicopter, and I think it went down right here. This was a Puma Pirate with Commando Para inside. And now that the Commando Para are down, they should immediately try to find these helicopters. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, and that is when the infantry is going to get deployed. FJB-40s. Command units behind lines, and especially behind their lines, but for most of the game they seem to be completely oblivious to the fact that these guys are here. Noob might not have realized that his helicopter went down, although whenever I see a difference in points with a unit, or where I'm missing a unit, I'm going, okay, what exactly happened? Why did that helicopter go down? That means that there's a very high likelihood of helicopters flying through my lines. And they even saw this helicopter, this Sokol. And that means that they do know that there are some units behind. If you do know that, immediately get some reconnaissance units out here. He has, for example, some empty VTTs over here. Now their optics are bad, or poor, but they can be used as a sort of picket defense. Even if you just try and spot the enemy with them, try to run into trouble really, that means that you can actually find these guys, or have a reasonable chance of finding them. Over here on the left flank, Jawohl is trying to take this sector, and he's doing it with a couple of Leopard 2A4s. Leopard 2A1 and Kylers are taking fire, but not very accurate. And unfortunately, the Fuchs got offloaded quite early. Yeah, you heard that right, I pronounced it right for once. The Fliegerfausts are offloaded too early. The Martyr 1A2 that was out here with the Panzer Grenadiers also got offloaded early. And unfortunately that's going to cost him all of this infantry. Red 4, on the other hand, isn't playing too smart either. And you can see that they are losing quite a few units over here. For some reason he's pushing up with a Fuchs here. What is he trying to do? Because these T-72 M1s are just going to take out those tanks, or those transports, very quickly. Now, some slugging between one tank from Blue 4 and 3 tanks from Red 4. It's not a good trade-off, so the Leopard 2A4 is going to come in and help. Fortunately, there goes the 2A1. In this situation, he shouldn't have engaged that tank, those 3 tanks with just one tank. It wasn't necessary to take them out. There was not an immediate risk to his units. There was not infantry that was out in the open that needed to be covered by some other transports or some tanks. So if you have a situation like this, just gather your thoughts for a minute. Gather your forces. Prepare to deal with those tanks decisively, preferably without losing a single tank. Or send in a bombing run. But a bombing run in this case would not have been that viable with 3 of these Shilkas standing here. You can see that they're also radar guided by the fact that they have a rotating radar on top of the turret. Now, something that these guys also have to learn is to take terrain quickly. They have taken Kilo, but that's probably only because Noob kept his CV here. But they are just leaving out on 9 points of income, so that's 4.5, say 5 points of income per second between the two of them. So the first thing that you need to do next time is capture these units, capture this terrain. This terrain would have been more difficult to capture because we have a couple of FJB40 on the loose here. Let's see where they are by now. They're already over here, trying to make their way into Kilo. See, it's not really that interesting for them to stay in Juliet because there's nothing to hunt down there. If they can get all the way out here, they might be able to try and get this CV. And they're also landing some Formosas all the way out here, because Blueford just does not have anything here. To counter this, make sure you have some AA infantry in here, which is a very cheap investment. Even if they don't have to shoot down anything, you still have a bit of a picket defense. Or get a reconnaissance unit all the way out here. Or if you have an empty helicopter lying about, and they got quite a few of those, a Puma Pirate, just park it there. And then if you see enemy helicopters come in, you will lose the pirate, probably. But the enemy might just be deterred altogether by not going there, since there is a pirate. Anyway, Blueford is still not making an attempt to find these FJBs. These leopards are just trying to reinforce the front line here. And talking about reinforcing, they are also landing a Puma 330L logistic here to make sure that the tanks and the automatic, which got pretty heavily damaged, are going to get repaired. This 2A4, by the way, is not covered by long-range AA, and that is something that they also need to improve upon. You're going to see this happening quite a few times in this replay, where they have a few bombers that are just doing random bombing runs, and that's because Redford does not know where Blueford's units are. They don't have any reconnaissance here. You're just going to see them do random bombing runs, and they are great opportunities for Blueford to come in, destroy a couple of those units with, say, a Roland or some Mistrals at a very, very low expense. There you can see another MiG-25 coming in. These things have decent ECM, but absolutely no clue where the enemy is. Automatic tries to do a bit of damage, gets taken out by a seaplane, and the seaplane also takes out the Gepard. Bit unfortunate there, but if you see two planes come in that close together, be careful. Because there's a good chance that it is a setup like that, where you have one bomber coming in first and then a seaplane right after it. So that people are tricked into activating their their AA, radar guided AA. The bomber will hit and might get taken down by the AA. And the seaplane is going to take out any AA that they can find so long as they have missiles for them. Redford is just doing random bombing runs here and getting away with it. Another MiG-17 manages to do a bombing run on nothing, so it doesn't really matter. But they're not actually hitting anything. Very, very good simultaneous kill here by the AMX-30B2s. They had a 97% accuracy right there. I didn't show that to you, but I saw that when I had a look at this replay earlier. And now they're taking some fire from these guys. There's quite a nice setup that they have here. Malyotka's ASU-85Ms, not really the unit I would use, but they can provide some fire support if Blueford decides to rush this bridge. A strop for AA, and they're all being spotted by this well-placed Commandos para. These guys are spotting everyone, and unfortunately Blueford just does not capitalize on it. All that Noob would have to do here is bring in one Caesar. And one Caesar would have made all of these things just disappear. Turn them into Caesar salad, if you will. Malyutkas are very easy to kill. Strop 2s might have a bit more armor, but if you can kill them off, they're nice to kill off because they don't have that much armor, only 2 on the side and the front. And if you can kill them off, there are not that many replacements that Mike CZ could replace them with, because you don't get that many strops in a deck. So you're wounding his AA capacity there. Another plane comes in, and let's see where it's going. It's just doing a random bombing run again. Just, I don't know, trying to go after nothing. Red 4 needs to step up their recon game here. They have no idea where the enemy is. If they would just put one group of recon infantry in here, they would have seen everything. They would have seen the B-30B2s, they would have seen the Martyrs, possibly the Mankadi 6x6 here. You can see that they are still, and Red 4 that I mean, are still getting away with bombing runs. So Blue 4 really needs to bring in some long-range AA to deal with this air threat. Or, if you don't want to have any long-range AA in here because you think it might get sniped, go with another unit like an air superiority fighter. Now Red 4, I think it's the Smerch that we're looking at here, or one of their variants. BM27. It's the East German Smerch, if you will, although the armor penetration value of it is lower. These things just engaged the town, and that means that they are not that experienced, because a town infantry cannot be taken out by cluster munitions. Now the rest of the battlefield looks pretty quiet. One thing that Noob over here has to do is deploy reconnaissance in this forest. You can see that Red 4 has some reconnaissance in here, in the form of the Specialnies. They also have some helicopters that they're not actively using, circling over this water to make sure that Blue 4 cannot do a heli rush on them. But having a bit of reconnaissance infantry in here might have just gotten you spotted with those M24Ps. You might have seen the SPW-80s here. Not sure why they're out here, by the way. He might consider going across the water here to avoid those ATGMs. Otherwise, the line looks okay. They got some tanks covering this bridge. They got some Gepard. ATGM Land F3s in these bushes. That means that if I was going to do a push across this bridge, if I was coming, say, with an ASU-85 here, scouting out this bridge, I'd see an ATGM come from this position, I'd fire some mortars at it, and no more ATGM. I'm not saying it's a bad position, but these things are very, very unlikely to make it out alive. Also, a tip for Mike CZ over here: if you see that your units are not blinking, and these things have not been blinking for at least 5 minutes, it means that they're not in cover. There's one unit that's in cover here that's not being detected, and that's the SPW-40, which is a unit that has medium stealth. The rest of these are completely exposed and can be taken down by artillery, bombers, or what have you. Now let's see what he's bringing in on this side. A couple of Martyr VTS-1s for fire support. Leopard 2A4 has been repaired. Kylers are good to go. New Gepards come in. Another Gepard is moving up, and they're pushing up with a pirate here. Probably to do a bit of reconnaissance here. And talking about reconnaissance, they might, if they were lucky, have dropped off reconnaissance infantry in here. Red 4 does not have any recon here. That AA unit might have spotted a helicopter, and of course this one would have found them eventually, but I think it would have been a pretty good opportunity to deploy those commanders pair. But then again, it is being quite bold, so it might not suit your playstyle. Red 4 here is using a couple of T-55s, base tanks, very cheap 40-point tanks. T-72, this by the way is not a cheap tank. T-72S1 with a 2A46M that most Red 4 units have. Good all-rounder tank, 18 frontal armor, 20 armor penetration, good rate of fire, good range. So these things are actually quite dangerous. Another Smercher on here, and I don't think that they got this helicopter this time around, but they might have damaged something. Actually, switching it back to Jawohl here. That was one Martyr VTS that got taken down, and a Spiderwagen. They're trying to get shots at what seems to be the T-72, but you can see that the Kylers are barely penetrating this tank. And I'm not sure what Jawohl is trying to do over here. I mean that he can push up with a tank here, but he's pushing up possibly right into enemy infantry. If I would be playing Red 4, I would have reconnaissance infantry in here and some VDVs to back those guys up. So I would have taken down that Leopard 2A4. Also, always ask yourself, what is my next move going to be? Say that they had made it across this bridge with tanks. Then what? Then you have tanks here, which are very easy targets for Red 4 helicopters, Red 4 airplanes, Red 4 infantry. They don't have any infantry transports in this group, so this offensive was pretty much useless. It didn't get them any terrain, it only cost them some units, it may have gained them some points, but otherwise it was just a complete waste of units here. Unfortunately, the Gepard was active and got taken down again by the same seed trick, a bomber first and then a seaplane after it. So these deaths could have been prevented. Now, I didn't cover it really here on the right, but this is where the FJB-40s, or some of them, met their demise. There still are Formosas out here, but those are much less of a threat to enemy helicopters, or your helicopters, than the FJBs are. They are, however, quite capable of taking down a Cassiopeia, as you saw here. And the Tiger is out of weaponry that they can use to engage that threat. They only carry rocket pods that are really useful against these guys, but the Stingers cannot fire at them, and neither can the Hot 2s. So what I would do here is not get this thing back to base. I would instead use the Tiger as a reconnaissance unit and have the 1A4s take out these FGB, the Formosas. And I believe that they are still... No, actually they got them, never mind. Over here is what I had expected to happen. They were building up a unit force here. Now that way they were able to float across the water using the amphibious capability of the ODs, the SPWs, to deploy reconnaissance infantry, light infantry and LSTRs. So they got AA/all-rounders, they got Specialnies, which are reconnaissance infantry, and they got ATGM infantry. Very potent combination. And Blue 4 did not counter that appropriately. Mostly because they had no idea what was going on. If you'd have had one reconnaissance unit in here, you would have prevented all of that. You would have made sure that these guys would not have made it across, because you could also park a tank in here, for example, and just casually start picking off those transports as they were floating. And since infantry in this game cannot swim, you would just pick off the transport and the infantry would die instantly. So a nice amount of free points there. Commandos Para are active, they have their weapons turned on. They are spotting the Kampfschwimmer, which also should be a hint for Mike here that his units are being spotted. Also, they're not actually in cover, they are just in front of this tree line. And I believe that this little bit... Actually, does it count as cover? No, it does not count as cover. I'm not sure why he stopped here. He might think that these guys were in cover, in the sense that they were not being detected due to their exceptional stealth. Saw a plane go down here. Let's see. That's a Red 4 plane that got taken out. And yep, it dropped some napalm onto these troops. Mistrals are running in panic. HEJ Milan F3s are also out of the building, and they are easy pickings for the infantry that's in here. And now Blue 4 might have been thinking, what the hell? How did these guys get in here? Noob is mobilizing his 1A4s, trying to get some shots at these units. But without good reconnaissance, it's very, very hard to actually get a couple of shots out. Also, they still haven't captured Juliet, so they're still lagging behind in income. And they could have captured Charlie quite a long time ago by just having command infantry out there. Stuff like that is going to give you more income. It's going to give you 7 points of income if you have both of these sectors. And that comes down to having 3, even 4 income per person or per player. It's definitely significant, because it means that in, say, 40 seconds you can deploy another 160 point tank. Not that they needed one of those tanks in particular in this match, but it would have been useful to have the capacity to do so. Now HEJ Jahowl F3 is deploying some HEGMs over here onto these strops as they're crossing the bridge. You can see that the Red 4 offensive is in full swing here. Let's see, I don't think that they're going to get that one. LSTRs have barely taken any damage. They are now getting engaged by the B2s. And the Leopard 1A4s jumped from this forest to over here, which is not the right option. Let me explain that. Once they were here, he could have moved them out onto this field and started firing at the infantry. I thought that that was what he was going to do. Instead, he moved them back up. And it's very difficult to show you in the video, but there is a slope where tanks can move up here. And he moved them to this forest. By doing that, he actually provided a service for Red 4, in the sense that Red 4's infantry could now get a lot closer. LSTR 40s are armed with the Vampire missile. That's the AT weapon that they have, and it's a high-end one, 24. Means it can take out almost any tank in one shot. So what they did here is push up with the infantry and actually use this bit of indentation where the infantry is covered to get closer to the tanks, closer to the ridge. So the tank might have gotten off one shot, and I'm not counting even with these helicopters, might have gotten off one shot before it went down to the infantry. So next time just push out with your tanks over here, engage the infantry as you see them. Now this Gepard should be active by now. He should have easily wiped out these helicopters. Not a big threat here. You can see that the 1A4 is more or less in cover here. Come on, move that Gepard, take out those helicopters. It's not that hard. Blue 4 has captured this terrain with a command Leopard. Don't use a command Leopard if you know that there's infantry all over the place. I mean, this is the problem. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's a pretty damn bold move by Red 4. They know that there's a tank out here. So if you know that there's a tank out there, you just go over the mountain and you engage the tank from the rear. So very, very well played there by Red 4. And I'm not making fun of Blue 4. I just thought it was a very, very good play by Red 4 there. Now another very, very curious cluster munition artillery strike on this town. Guys, you cannot take down infantry with cluster munitions. They're gonna get panicked, but that's it. Now let's see what the infantry is gonna do here. There's still light infantry here, still some specialnies and quite a large amount of them. Formosas are pushing up along this ridge. They might be able to spot the Leopard A2, and these groups together can easily wipe out whatever is in this forest, including that expensive command tank for 170 points. Now let's see what's happening on the left flank. They are pushing up again with the Gepards. Still no long range AA here. Make sure you have some Roland in this position because they keep doing airstrikes on your positions. Kylers, 2A4s, Fenix are now engaging these T-72s and getting away with it too. Almost wiped out that T-72. It's only a 55 point tank, but since the scores are so close, it's nice to get any kind of point value that you can get. Good hit on the T-72M1, and this is one that's a little bit more expensive at 80 points. Red 4 seems completely oblivious to what's going on here. And unfortunately this thing only carries 4 of those TOW2s. Now Blue 4 is dropping off some infantry here, Lynx. Unfortunately there are Formosas in here. Of course they don't know that. But Formosas with their grenade launcher are going to chew through any kind of infantry that you can deploy. Mi-24A engaging 30 B2s. And this is a good play by Noob. He disabled the main gun, allowing the autocannon on the tanks to start firing. And yeah, we're also seeing some movement here from the Specialnies. The light infantry are engaging something with those ATGMs, probably this B2. B2 has no idea what it's being hit by. Unfortunately, these autocannons are not that effective against these helicopters. Tank is moving back right into the welcoming arms of the Specialny Jetnoskis here. Not exactly sure what happened to these Formosas, but they probably got wiped out when I wasn't paying attention. These FKPs might be able to take care of these Specialnies, although Specialnies at Elite versus panicked and shaken FKPs, it's not looking that good. Light infantry take out a Gepard A2. Quite an expensive loss there again. And artillery is going to town on this B2 as more and more infantry is being offloaded here. You can see that they got some more FJBs out here. I think that they're landing them pretty far away from the battle. I would have tried landing them out there, because Red 4, I think, has a pretty good idea of what's going on here. They know that they just took out an AA unit, and deploying them all the way out here means that these FJBs have an enormous amount of terrain to cover on foot. So it would have been a lot better if they just deployed them out there, and with that they got a couple of nice AT/AA/anti-infantry units in there. Almost friendly fire from the Hinds onto this position, where they almost hit those FJBs. Kylers are working their magic with the autocannons on the FJBs. And there goes another one. Now Jawohl did a bombing run over here, but unfortunately lost his plane. I'm not sure what he was trying to hit. Maybe he went for the concourse, maybe he went for something that's in here, because I didn't even see that thing drop its bombs. Maybe here? There's no visual craters there. Again, it's perfectly fine to do bombing runs, just make sure that your bomber can make it out alive. And really, what's the point of doing a bombing run right here? They don't really need to attack here, because they got enough trouble as it is on this flank. They have a moderate defensive setup with a couple of those tanks out there. They don't really need to push up. And I'm pretty worried that pushing up is only going to be donating points to Red 4. Especially since they still don't have their AA situation in line. They still don't have a Roland. Martyr 2's taking quite a bit of fire here. Come on, move with the Gepards. Good chance that we're going to see another seaplane come in very, very soon. By the way, if you are Red 4 in this situation, it's always a good idea to have a seaplane just do a flight over here. Because they could have taken out the Gepards before those things went active, probably. And that means that anything out there could have been taken down by the helicopter or other airstrikes. And Red 4 seems to have invested quite heavily in bombers, so they could have taken down quite a bit of points there. Now I think that they did a bombing run on these tanks. Keep in mind though that bombers with HE bombs are not going to be that effective versus tanks. It's much better to use cluster bombers if you're going after tanks, because they're going to do a lot more damage. Again, Leopard 2A4 engaging, took out a tank here, another tank goes down, but these are very, very cheap 25-point tanks, which makes them the same price as the Panzer Grenadiers that are moving up here. Another 15-pointer goes down. In the meanwhile, it seems that they have this area more or less under control. At least Red 4 isn't pushing up as heavily as they were. But they still got that Command Leopard out here. What? Red 4 just did an artillery run on their own infantry. Bit of miscommunication there. 1A5 is pushing up aggressively here. I think that this tank was pushed in here, or was told to go here right from the spawn. And that's just fulfilling those orders, regardless whether they're going to see any infantry in here. If you see some of your units coming in, always give them different orders, updated to the current situation. Now only a couple minutes left, and I think that what we're going to see here is a Blue 4 victory, since they have more points. They do need 600 points, but you can, if you kill off a plane like this, get those 60 points pretty quickly. There goes another plane, but probably at the expense of the 2 Gepards and almost a 2A4. MiG-17s are coming in. Very easy to take down, by the way. They might be annoying. 55 pointers, 0% ECM, slow plane. 1 ASF could have taken down both of those aircraft. Now, Leopard 1A4 versus a T-72S1 is not a good trade-off. And the T-72S1 won that, of course. Blue 4 now has a Gepard A1 in position here. But Red 4 doesn't really care. They're just offloading their infantry out there, way out range of the Gepard. FGB-40 is engaging with Jaeger here. And there's a Leopard 1A5 on that hill as well. If Blue 4 doesn't do anything soon, it's going to turn into a draw. Let's see, we got... Oh dear. What are you firing at? Let me guess. The town, maybe? Yeah. Come on, guys. If you see that you're not getting any damage or any kills from firing at a town with AT weaponry, don't do it again. Leopard is being spotted, and now it's in cover. Jaeger went down though. Very, very close game so far. Wow. Here comes the Air Force. Unfortunately, they don't have anything to cover that. This is going to give them quite a few more points. 130 there. 200 points. You can see that again, they're using this trick of using a bomber as a lure to make sure that this Gepard turns on its weapons, which just happened. Su-22 comes around, takes out another Gepard, and missed that one narrowly. But Blue 4 got it. And it was a minor victory for Blue 4. So they got a very, very minor positive ratio, but they got a positive ratio. They won this game. Still, I think that there are quite a few things that I could have done differently, as I pointed out in this video. And I hope that these guys are watching the video, not only Blue 4 but also Red 4, to see what they could have done differently or better. Now, if you have anything that I didn't cover, or any tips that might be useful here, leave them in the comments down below, because I'd like you guys to help these guys improve their gameplay. One day they may be on your team and you want to have good players on your team, so we need to help each other get better. If you have a replay that you want to send in and have me look at, the link to do that is in the description down below, and I'll be happy to have a look at it. Just make sure you put a decent description with it, because if it's only saying good 4v4 game, I'm just going to delete it without even looking at it. I get quite a few of these per day, so make sure that yours is good with a good description, and I'll be more likely to have a look at it. So, that's the end of the video. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be seeing you for the next Wargame video.